Welcome to Talking Politics. I'm Paul Gable. I'm here with my good friend and co-host John Bond Sr. And today we are entertaining Horry County Police Chief Joe Hill.
Good morning.
And we will be back in a moment. Welcome back. Chief, thanks for joining us again. It's been about, what, 15 months or
It has been,
like
Paul.
Let me interrupt you for one second. I know it's hard to do.
One second, John.
Yeah, 1 second. Let's welcome Ashley here. Your daughter, Ashley. Isn't she so pretty? How can you be his daughter? It's impossible.
Look, she takes...
And you got your little grandson. Granddaughter.
No, my grandson, her son.
Oh, your son.
That's the way that works,
Okay,
John.
Okay, I got it straight now.
You got to get these
let's go back to
generations
Chief
straight.
Hill. Okay,
Yeah,
we got that.
Ashley, by the way...
If you hear someone crying, that's your grandson.
Ashley, by the way, looks like her mother. That's why. That's why she's pretty.
Thank God.
Okay, we're back. Now that John stole a minute from you already.
That's okay.
Look, you had a police academy graduation last
We did.
night?
We had a Citizens Police Academy
Citizens
graduation.
Police Academy.
And what that is, it allows citizens of Horry County to network and to learn what their tax dollars are going towards in public safety in the police department. And so it's a multi-week course. They meet Monday for 8 weeks, and they get about 3.5 hours of instructions from different branches of the police department.
Explaining what they do.
Yes, and they get to go out and do a simulator, which is a shoot-don't-shoot simulator. They get to understand what the bomb team does, what internal affairs, their role in our professional policing model, and also what patrol tactics are available and some of our crime scene initiatives. And it was an eye-opening experience not only for the participants, but for the officers that were teaching. And they graduated last night at the council meeting, a very proud moment for us. And it was the very first class we've ever put on. We're going to have one every year from here on out. It's an outstanding community engagement initiative.
Tell me this, who learns more, the police officers or the people? Or is it a 50-50 split?
Yeah, I think it's mutually beneficial for all parties involved.
I would
because
think so.
As police officers, we get to actually kind of show a little bit of why we're proud of this profession and what we do for the citizens. They get to see their police officers in action. And now we become kind of symbiotic in our relationship now. And they're going to go on to do other things for the police department.
Yeah, well, and John, of course, with his community law enforcement group, he's tried
Oh,
that.
he's a member.
Yeah, I know, the
Chief's member.
citizens and the police and getting them together and getting them to understand and what have you.
Well, it gets also the citizens a good insight into what the police are up against with their job, how difficult it is. It's not as easy. You just put on a uniform, go out there and patrol. It's much more detailed, and they get to see firsthand as to what they're up against.
Yes.
So that's a positive. I'm glad to see you're doing it.
Yes, sir.
That is
We
very,
love it.
very good.
And let's hit the other highlight. You're going to get an award from the governor, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Narcotics.
Narcotics award. It's a bittersweet award for me, and I'll explain. So the governor sent down notification that he's given Horry County an award for the most lives saved in the state of South Carolina using Narcan. Well, the problem with the Narcan and the problem with the award is that we've got a problem.
If you're saving the most lives, you got the most users.
We got
right?
the most users,
Well,
absolutely.
you heard what the coroner said last week about the increase in opioid deaths. And what he's doing, getting an award, that's marvelous.
Well, it's marvelous for saving lives, but he'd love not to have to deal with the problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you how this all stemmed, or how this all came about. 2 years ago when I got hired, I ran into a DHEC representative at a conference, and they were trying to persuade chiefs to take Narcan on, not only to save the citizens they come into contact with, but also to save the officers who may come inadvertently in contact with Narcan, with an opioid derivative, such as fentanyl. And so I was resistant at first, and then I turned back around. I said, tell me more about this program, and I bought into it. And I got the other chiefs along the strands to buy into it. It's been a very successful program as far as saving lives, but we still have the underlying issue of a opioid addiction.
This is one plus for the county when they hire professionals like yourself to come in that understand the problems of crime, opioids, narcotics, etc. So you were to be commended for that.
Well, thank you, sir.
There's one other thing that you've been up against. That's traffic, school traffic, and the traffic, police in schools, etc. So that's on your plate as well that
That
you're
is.
handling. How are you?
Well, we just had a slight issue with sound, and at that time my grandson woke up, so I wanted to give him a cameo appearance.
And he sings like an opera singer.
Oh, and he's even given,
Wow, look how
John a
beauty.
smile, which doesn't happen.
I think that smile was
everybody
directed at
smiles
me,
at
sir.
me.
You're right.
Yes,
I
sir.
They
think
frown
you're
at
right.
you, but they smile at me.
Anyway, this is Emmanuel, and we wanted to get him on camera fast.
Hi, Emmanuel. Look, he knows his name.
Oh, he's smiling. Oh, isn't he cute?
All right, John, back to...
Okay, we're talking about schools, and we're talking about traffic, and we're talking about police in the schools and the problems they're having. And you're on top of this. I know you are. You're a good professional. You understand the problem and so forth. Give us an overview as to what you're doing with respect to safety, traffic, schools, etc.
Absolutely. So let's talk about traffic for a second. So I'm a traffic motor officer at the heart. So traffic's near and dear to me.
Wow.
Every year we have what they call SOS, Save Our Schools, and that is a traffic initiative for the first week as the start of schools. So I have officers from the Horry County Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, and the Highway Patrol out at all the school zones enforcing and reminding drivers that school's in session. Most school zones are 25 miles an hour. During certain periods of the day, we're out there enforcing that signage. Talking about school safety, we just conducted our active shooter, and this year we included the school security officers in that training. And the reason we did that is so when we respond, God forbid, to an active shooter in the school security guards know our procedures, they know how to integrate into our response tactics so that we can neutralize the threat.
Well, that's a plus.
Yes, sir.
That's a plus. What you see is happening throughout the nation as far as shootings in schools and so forth.
Yeah.
How about the school buses? What are you doing there? Because I still see people passing school buses when they're stopped.
Yes, sir. That's all part of the Traffic Safety Initiative SOS, and that's ongoing throughout the year. So we'll set up stings, and that's direct contact in from the school traffic safety division, transportation division, that will tell us where their problem areas are, and then we can send our motor traffic safety officers to go out and concentrate on those particular areas.
Yeah, do you get many calls from those areas that people are passing buses?
We do get some throughout the years. It's not as many as you would think, so a lot of folks are not reporting these violations.
How about hiring? How are you doing with respect to hiring?
We're struggling. Law enforcement as a profession is struggling with recruitment and retention. We've got some new initiatives that we're going out. We're hitting all our magazines, and we're trying some non-traditional methods to bring in folks into the profession.
Can I cut in on you there?
Sure.
We've got to take a break, but then we'll come back in on the
Look, the
hiring.
baby's
Absolutely,
smiling
okay?
at- smiling
and
at-
yeah, the
at
baby's
me,
done
Chief.
nothing but
He's
smile
smiling
at
at
you.
the
You're right.
chief,
It's
yeah.
you he's smiling at.
He's looking at you and smiling at you like he understands what's going on.
He should. School safety, he's
We'll
concerned.
be back in a moment.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe. Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees like our scampi traditional, Alfredo or lemon romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway. Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a server at Brothers Grill, and as a server here, I like to make sure everybody has amazing service and good fresh food every single day. We serve lunch and dinner from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., our happy hours from 4 to 7, and we're located on 5900 North Kings Highway. Follow us on Facebook at Brothers Grill Myrtle Beach.
Welcome back. We have Horry County Police Chief Joe Hill with us today at the New China Buffet in Surfside Beach, and we were talking about hiring, and I know hiring is important, very important. And let me just throw it back to you then, as you were talking about. You talked about the magazines and what have you. What else we have going on?
Yeah, just non-traditional way of getting folks interested in our profession. Traditionally, when we recruit at colleges and military bases and throughout the state, we go for those traditional mindset folks. And now we're looking at people who are involved in academics that are not necessarily associated with law enforcement, psychology, business majors, accounting majors. We want to bring them into the profession because it's a good paying job. It's a good career. You get a retirement after 25 years for the rest of your life. So there's a lot of benefits into joining law enforcement, in particular Horry County Police Department.
What about background checks?
Well, background checks are the quintessential hinge for law enforcement and professional and for ethics and accountability.
Do they have to take psychological tests?
Yeah, so let me walk you through the process. Someone applies to be a police officer, they take the test. Once they pass the test, they do a background questionnaire, and we have our background investigators go through each and every document and every contact in that person's life. Then they're assigned a panel interview, and if they pass the panel interview, they go on to our polygraph examination and our psychological screening. Psychological screening is mandated in the state of South Carolina. The polygraph is not, but I introduced the polygraph when I got here 2 years ago. I think the polygraph is an essential part of the vetting process for law enforcement officers.
So you give them kind of the same background check we had from the Navy, huh?
Glad you brought that up, Paul. That's exactly what we're doing. And so from the military service that folks that did our job in intelligence are thoroughly vetted.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the same type of vetting process needs to go on with law enforcement in America. And we want to make sure we hire the best of the best. What that does is cut down on the available candidates that put on this badge, but I'd rather run short than have a police officer who's not qualified to
What is
police.
the timeline when you first interview them until they're
3 months.
You pass them and then they go on to the academy.
The process is 3 months.
3 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then what do they do? They get sworn in and then go to
They
the
get sworn
academy?
in. Now, here's a new program we started. Once they're hired, we have to wait for an academy slot. We have a big challenge in the state of South Carolina. We only have one police academy in the state. That is a choke point for us
Oh, my
because
God.
agencies from around the state are trying to recruit.
Sure.
We go through cycles. We're in that cycle right now. So what we're proposing is, and what we've done in Horry County, is we will hire these folks 3 months prior to an academy slot, send them to Horry Georgetown Tech. They get a pre-academy legal, ethics, and accountability class for 3 months. We train them in physical, we train them in firearms and driving, and then we send them off to the academy so they will perform at a higher level.
And be ready. Well, of course, when they come back from the academy, let's go through. Then they are also they're kind of probationary officers. for a
Right.
They
period,
are.
right?
They are assigned to a field training officer or a police training officer, and that vetting process is, okay, so now you've graduated, we've got to teach you the mechanics of the job. And that's an evaluation process, and there's no guarantee they're going to pass that process, but we do everything we can to make sure they have the tools to perform at the highest level.
And when you get a police officer, if you do, that comes from another jurisdiction, and let's say like yourself, another state. Now, they don't have to do the academy part.
Not
right?
the full academy. They have to go through a 6-week abbreviated so they understand the laws of South Carolina and our culture down here in South Carolina. That's a 6-week course. We would love to get it down to half of that, but right now it's out of our hands. It belongs to the State of South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy.
Geez, I've been down here 35 years. I'm not sure I understand the culture.
I understand. I understand. I understand.
Well, you don't understand anything.
And then once they've done that, and once they've hit through, we'll call it a probationary or ride-along period, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, sir.
Then they get assigned to.
A precinct, and they get assigned to a sector, and they're a solo officer. And I remember the day that I was cut loose. That's what they call it. It was the most scariest day in my law enforcement profession because you're by yourself. You have nobody to rely on, and everything you've taught has to come into play when you're responding anything from a stolen bicycle to a robbery in progress to a homicide. And so you have to have the tools necessary to solve those cases and to address those issues of the community. It's a lot of work.
Sure is.
Let's talk a bit about your sectors and maybe what we possibly have in the future. We're not sure, but what you have right now in the way of sectors and what you have with officers on duty. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand the North Sector can run from Carolina Forest to Little River.
That is true.
And so Carolina Forest, pretty congested area, and there's some areas in Little River pretty congested.
Yes, sir.
And that's why there was such a big issue in the last election about needing more officers. But what do you have on duty at any one time, roughly?
Well, let me paint a picture for you. So in Horry County, we cover almost 1,200 square miles of real estate. We have 245 sworn officers on patrol at any given time. In a sector is 6 officers. So, and let me back up a little bit. In a precinct is 6 officers and maybe 2 supervisors. So you have maybe 8 officers. Now, in the daytime, we have officers that go to court, officers who make arrests, officers who are out on long-term investigations, and so now you whittle that down to about maybe 2 or 3 to cover all of Carolina Forest.
Carolina Forest to Little River.
55,000 citizens and growing. That's a huge challenge for me. I've got a sector out in the West Precinct that covers 102 square miles. A male and female officer out there by themselves covering 102 square miles.
And while there's not as many people out there, although we seem to be adding more zoning for building more out in the western part of the county, but the distances are crazy.
It's an officer safety nightmare for me because although it's agricultural, so a lot of those that acreage is farming. If an officer makes a traffic stop, and that's one of the main corridors into the beach, makes a traffic stop and runs into trouble with a violent offender, he or she has got to wait for backup to get out there to help him, and that could be as long as 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The average fight lasts about 3 minutes, and when you're dealing with a police officer and you're fighting with a police officer, there's always one thing that's common. There's always a gun involved.
I was going to say, it can always get lethal, can't it?
Always a gun involved, absolutely. And that's a concern for me as a police chief and as a leader and as a police officer who cares about his troops. I worry about that. So we're making strides to make sure the county council understands the need for additional officers.
And if that wasn't made clear in the last election, I'd like to reiterate it. There is a need for additional officers.
We're talking about recruiting, et cetera. This past week, we had a cookout over at Conway, and helping the police officers in Conway, they had these explorers, these young kids that are police, what do you call them? They're just breaking into police. They want to be policemen and so forth. And they have a program where they get these kids in there and they let them become explorers and they help the police in their duties. Are you going to consider doing something like that?
I got to put up a cut. You
come
asked
on.
the question
Will you stop it
before
already?
you give the
Here,
answer. We
I'm
have
asking you
to
a
cut, and we've got to let our sponsors talk. Because if we don't let our sponsors talk, they won't let us back here
You
next
love
week.
doing this at the middle of
We'll
the
be
show.
back in a
He
moment.
loves doing this. You know, he does love doing this, cutting me right off.
Every week.
Yeah, then I
Every
forget
week.
what I'm talking about. Okay, go ahead.
John
Ashley-
always asks these long,
Ashley,
involved...
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a server at Brothers Grill, and as a server here, I like to make sure everybody has amazing service and good fresh food every single day. We serve lunch and dinner from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., our happy hours from 4 to 7, and we're located on 5900 North Kings Highway. Follow us on Facebook at Brothers Grill Myrtle Beach.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe. Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees like our Scampi Traditional, Alfredo or Lemon Romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature Marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway. Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Well, welcome back. And John was asking a question about explorers. And
Right.
you were going to say something, Chief.
Yes, sir. So I had an opportunity to speak to one of the explorers at that event, and my plan is to meet with the Explorer coordinator from Conway to see how they run their program. We had an Explorer program in Horry County years ago. It went defunct prior to my arrival, and I would like to reinstate that
But
program.
those kids were really good. My
Yes.
gracious.
And
they-
is that a way to, well, I mean, you know, obviously, if you get 1 or 2 or 3 kids out of an Explorer program that are really become interested in become police officers, it's
Well,
kind
most
of
of them that were in
recruiting area.
Conway wanted to be police officers.
Yeah,
That's
so
where their future goals were.
It has multiple positive reaches into the community. One is, of course, a recruiting effort, but more importantly, you take a young person, you mentor and coach them, and you keep them from entering the criminal justice center. You give them maybe what they're not getting at home. A lot of these kids don't have 2 parents in the household. They may have a single parent who's working very hard to make sure that home is stable, and you need that positive influence, and as a police officer, we can provide that.
You know, we're lucky here. We have you, such a good professional, et cetera. And when you read the newspapers, you only see bad press with respect to our community. They talk about rape, and they're talking about narcotics, they talk about deaths, et cetera. And yet, that's not what we're all about. We have such positive,
do.
good police programs like we just had on Saturday. We had that cookout connecting cops, kids, and the community. Now, you're right here with us. People are out there looking, maybe they're tourists, maybe they're vacationers and what have you, snowbirds that come out, et cetera. Now, here's it directly from the police commissioner, police chief of Horry County, that covers all of these areas that we touch with our program. Tell us the positiveness of what we do here in the Grand Strand,
Well,
as you see it.
Yes, sir. So I came down here from Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. suburb, very busy area, high crime rate because of the population and other factors. I come down to Horry County, and I came down here for a reason. This is a beautiful place to live, play, and raise a family. We've got great community members that are engaged. The demographic is very positive. And the law enforcement, not just Horry County, all the law enforcement agencies along the Strand are some of the best law enforcement professionals I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And there's programs out here that we're all doing to engage with the community. Coffee with the cops. We have a community outreach, town hall forums. We had a cadet program. There's a lot of programs out here that are very positive. And what I want the folks to know that are moving down here or live here is that when you look around, your crime rate is extremely low. And that's for a multitude of reasons. One, the demographic demands that, and you have positive law enforcement.
But
in the
doesn't that
area.
frustrate you? You have a program where you give kids toys during Christmas.
Shop with a cop.
Yeah, you get 25.
Love that.
They get 25.
It's a highlight of my year.
What do you get? $25 each police officer gets 25
$100 per kid.
per kid.
Yeah, all donations.
Now you don't get much publicity on that, do you?
No.
This is a positive program. You're helping kids. You're helping the community. This is something that's good.
Yes,
It's positive.
it is.
We should get good press on it. But do we get good press on it?
Yeah, and some outlets are looking for the good, and we give them the good, and our website has everything that we're doing positive on for the Horry County Police Department along with the other agencies.
But do you know the Sun News did not promote, did not cover, did not publish anything that we did this past Saturday over at Conway, the city of Conway.
And I think it's fair that the people who live in Horry County or visit Horry County
it's disappointing.
go back in history and look at the news coverage and see for yourself. You don't need me to tell you. You can do your own research and see where the positive stories lie and what news outlet.
The Sun News is a
has that.
disappointment. Disappointment. They don't cover the positive things. They don't. You're laughing. Go ahead. This is my charge. If you're out there, you're going to report something. Report it positive. If there's something negative, fine. But not everything is negative. There's a lot of things that are positive, and they're not even covered. They're not covered, and that's a shame because these police officers and firemen and first responders.
Let's go back to that Christmas thing.
The two
Shop with a cop.
That's all, those children that get to go. Aren't they chosen in the schools? Isn't that
They
the
are.
way that works?
Yeah, we still have a partnership with the schools, even though we don't have SROs in the school, and we choose the children who are less fortunate. We choose the children who may not have a Christmas without this program.
Which is exactly the children that should be chosen.
Absolutely.
Well, that's something good. We do something as well, Paul. I don't think you know about it.
You
should
save
report
cats.
it in the Grand Strand Daily. I
You
never see
save
it in the
cats,
Grand Strand
right?
Daily. He always writes negative things about me. But I do something positive once in a while, Paul. Did you know that? I do something positive.
No, but let me say this.
I do. He doesn't cover it.
A broke
when
clock
I,
is
when I
right
give out
twice a day,
turkeys
so
during
I guess you have to
Thanksgiving,
be by the
does he cover it?
percentages, you know?
No, he doesn't. That's one of the in my opinion, you're doing an excellent job with that Grand Strand Daily. You're increasing your readership, which is marvelous. And only because of me, because I keep promoting it. You don't say a word there. Do you,
You're
do you
exactly,
say a word?
You're exactly right. No, I don't. I don't.
Okay. So before,
obviously I post my stories and I have put it on Facebook and people share them and what have you, and that's how the readership goes up.
Before we hang up, let me ask the chief one. Let's get a little bit personal with you.
Okay.
You came from Virginia. You came with your lovely wife. Do you have any children?
I do. I have two. I have a 27-year-old daughter who's getting ready to get married to a Navy guy.
Oh,
Yes.
poor girl.
Good girl.
A SEAL team member. And I have a 21-year-old whose birthday is today, actually, and we're going to celebrate.
Today?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful.
Is that a daughter too?
No, he's a son.
Son, well, happy birthday to him.
Thank you very much.
Where did you finally put up your tent?
Carolina Forest.
Doesn't everybody move to Carolina?
Well, and let me tell you.
Ashley's
Ashley, you're from
Forest, so.
Carolina Forest?
And so here's the deal. So a lot of our concerns arise out of Carolina Forest because of the rapid growth. But I live in Carolina Forest, and I did my research. I did my due diligence. It's a great place to be. I feel safe in my home. I hope my neighbors feel safe. And when we have issues where family members or our community members don't feel safe, that's a concern for me. And that's what we try to address with additional patrols, overtime patrols in Carolina Forest, and a quick response to calls and complaints that come out of all the communities in Horry County.
Did you really choose the Grand Strand because of golf?
I don't golf, sir, but I do fish. I do fish.
Well,
And I love the people
We
down
have plenty
here.
of fish.
Yes, we do.
well, the Carolina Forest thing, I mean, that's a community that
It's blowing up.
it's the largest
Urgent.
community, even though it's not a city. It's larger than any city we have in Horry County. Not that we have big ones here,
Yeah.
but Myrtle Beach isn't bad
larger
size,
than
you
that.
know.
Well, and I'll tell you this too, if we're gonna get personal. I lived in the Grand Dunes when my first year here, and we absolutely loved the Grand Dunes, but I felt isolated from the community.
Right.
And so we moved into a place where kids are playing in the street.
And there's no gate.
There's no gate. There's just families just enjoying this community, and that's what I'm most comfortable with.
But that's blowing up by leaps and bounds, the Carolina Forest
It is.
community.
Yeah, but it's
And
just
you,
like
you
Carolina
have
Forest.
the North Precinct that's way over in Little River covering it.
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be some time, some point in time, you're going to be reviewing where the stations are, the police stations? The police
Yes, sir. We actually,
units?
I sent over a diagram of a potential co-located station with the fire department and some other county agencies right off of International Drive. So you're right in the heart of Carolina Forest. And honestly, a 5th precinct or an East precinct is exactly what we need to address some of those issues. Now, here's the deal. We don't need brick and mortar. We need more cops on the beat. We're different from the
So you're
fire.
going to assign more cops to
Well,
that area?
that's not up to me. That's up to the council to give me more officers. But here's the deal. We're not the fire department. The fire department responds from a physical building. Officers respond in their cars. They're a mobile field force. So the
All right.
more officers we have on the street, the better response times we can have to citizen complaints.
Do I have
Well,
time
you know,
to
on
ask
that,
him to
no, we've already blown past our time. We
Okay.
want to thank you for coming. And
My
look,
pleasure,
I
always.
promise you this: it's not going to be 15 months before we have.
I hope
you back.
not. If nothing
promise
else, a
that.
cup of coffee, sir.
There you go.
Thank you.
Always good to see you, John.
And that's all for Talking Politics this week. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a server at Brothers Grill, and as a server here, I like to make sure everybody has amazing service and good fresh food every single day. We serve lunch and dinner from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., our happy hours from 4 to 7, and we're located on 5900 North Kings Highway. Follow us on Facebook at Brothers Grill Myrtle Beach.